Young is throwing on first down. And to the ground, ruled an interception by Will Harris, who spins inside the 40-yard line. It looked like an overthrow for Bryce Young, and Harris scooped it up off the Superdome turf.
Flashback.
We are going to become what Bryce is great at in the pass game. We're going to grow to the capacity that he can handle. There's got to be a commitment and a discipline about that. There was a growth curve there with Baker. Here's where we're at today. Based on the information we have, let's get into these situations to see where he looks most confident. When I see that back foot planted in the ground and that ball rips out of there without any hesitation, I know we've got something. Let's find more of those.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
Well, Bryce Young, what's your excuse for sucking now? This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about why Bryce Young should be benched immediately for the Panthers after the Saints blew out the Panthers by the score of 47-10. Bryce Young has now dropped his NFL record to 2-15 in the NFL. With that being said, it has now begged the question of whether or not Bryce Young should be benched for Andy Dalton. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. Will the Panthers be the worst team in the NFL again? Of course the Panthers are going to be the worst team in the NFL again. It's the Panthers and then it's everybody else. Before I rant about the Carolina Panthers, I want to focus specifically on Bryce Young because Bryce Young had another horrible game for the Carolina Panthers, which seems to be a common theme of Bryce Young throughout his NFL career. This is a shame to see Bryce Young be in this position, considering the fact that Bryce Young seems like a great human being. He seems like a guy you can vibe with, and he's a nice guy. He really is. I hope for nothing but the best for Bryce Young in real life. If football doesn't work out for Bryce Young, I hope he ends up being a great person in society that can contribute on many levels. In fact, if Bryce Young wants to become a coach at some level, go ahead and go for it, Bryce Young. I'm going to be rooting for you. But in terms of being an NFL quarterback, you're not going to cut it at the NFL level. You just don't have any ability whatsoever. These Bryce Young fanboys make me angry when I read their comments because I always hear all the excuses all the time. Oh, Peyton Manning threw 28 picks his rookie year. Oh, how was Trevor Lawrence in his rookie year? Oh, how come X, Y, and Z didn't go their way? Oh, he needs more weapons. Oh, he needs a new play caller. Oh, he needs everything around him to be changed. Oh, we need to be playing at a faster tempo. Oh, we need to devalue defense and put more resources into the offensive side. All kinds of excuses are being thrown towards Bryce Young's way all the time, and the Panthers fell for it again. And what happened? Bryce Young still sucked for the Carolina Panthers. You can't put lipstick on a pig because at the end of the day, it's a pig. That's exactly the analogy I want to use for Bryce Young's performance on the Carolina Panthers. You can get Bryce Young better receivers. You can get Bryce Young better play calls. You could try to stack the deck with Bryce Young as your quarterback. But what happens at the end of the day? If your guy can't play in the NFL, he simply cannot play. And Bryce Young has zero ability to be what it takes to be a great quarterback in the NFL. Bryce Young has poor arm strength. His accuracy is severely overrated. You look at how his processing is also severely overrated as well. His footwork is trash. His accuracy goes way down if you ask him to attempt any pass beyond 10 yards. And there's really nothing redeemable about Bryce Young whatsoever. Bryce Young is not a good athlete for his size. He needs to be an elite athlete like Kyler Murray in order to look like an NFL caliber quarterback. The problem is though, Bryce Young does not have the capabilities to be a great athlete, and he doesn't have the elusivity of Russell Wilson. He also does not have the ability to process information like Drew Brees. I understand a lot of Bryce Young fanboys, they like to compare Russell Wilson and Drew Brees to Bryce Young, but those guys had elite traits at something. Bryce Young doesn't have elite traits at anything. In fact, Bryce Young scores poorly in a lot of categories. Bryce Young is fundamentally behind his peers for somebody that was drafted as high as he was. When I evaluated Bryce Young, I said this guy needs to sit down a year and really rebuild his game entirely. And what did the Carolina Panthers do? Not only did they take this full #1 overall, they traded up from pick 9 all the way to pick 1. They gave up a whole ton of draft picks and DJ Moore in order to draft Bryce Young with the #1 overall pick in a draft class where CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson were available. And the reason why we took Bryce Young is because the owner loved Bryce Young so much. Frank Reich tried to warn everybody that Bryce Young was not going to be a good quarterback at the NFL level. He tried to get the Carolina Panthers to draft CJ Stroud at the quarterback position, and did our owner listen? No, because the owner was so so arrogant and he believed he knew so much about football that he thought Bryce Young would be a better quarterback than CJ Stroud at the NFL level, which is a horrible take in and of itself. I also want to expose Mike Tannenbaum for this horrible take that he said about Bryce Young. He compared Bryce Young to Steph Curry. It is a laughable take. It is one of the worst takes I've ever seen, and that is why Mike Tannenbaum is a former GM. Roll the film.
And I think he's going to be an exception. And I think Todd McShay used this analogy first, which is I think he has Steph Curry in him, which is I think he has really good short area movement. I think he has really good flexibility. I think he's going to be a great passer, not a good passer. And over the next 3 to 5 years, guys, if we were sitting here, I think Bryce Young is going to be the better NFL quarterback than Justin Fields. Taking nothing away from Justin Fields, I think he has a chance to be really special because of what he can do down the field with his accuracy.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Well, that was an embarrassing take from Mike Tannenbaum. That take aged like spoiled milk. Mike Tannenbaum did not know what he was talking about whatsoever. In order to be Steph Curry at the NFL, you have to be undersized, which, by the way, Bryce Young is undersized, so I will give Mike Tannenbaum credit for that. But outside that, they don't have any similarities whatsoever, because what is Steph Curry known for? Shooting the three ball, being able to shoot deep threes while being heavily covered and making amazing passes. Obviously, Bryce Young does not have the ability to throw downfield. He is a check down king. Guys like David Tepper don't know anything about football, but they think they know everything about football. That's why you come to the conclusion that somebody like Bryce Young is the best quarterback in a draft class, even though it's very clear that Bryce Young might be the biggest bust of all time, with the exception of Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell and Johnny Manziel. But that's because those guys had off the field problems. But in terms of on-field production, Bryce Young might be the biggest bust in NFL history. If he's not, then he's certainly up there. The guy is worse than Zach Wilson, which is saying something. I thought Zach Wilson was horrible at processing information at the line of scrimmage, but Bryce Young is even worse than Zach Wilson. At least Zach Wilson has a cam for an arm. Granted, Zach Wilson doesn't have any other redeemable quality, but Bryce Young doesn't even have that in his game whatsoever. There is nothing good about Bryce Young whatsoever, other than that he is a great human being. But you know who else is a great human being? Bronny James. That doesn't mean Bronny James is a good basketball player. Guys like David Tepper are why the Carolina Panthers continue to be a dysfunctional franchise year in and year out. It's extremely frustrating to watch as a Panthers fan, and the Carolina Panthers are going to continue being the worst team in the NFL, because I don't see how the Carolina Panthers are winning more than 3 games on their schedule. Matter of fact, if somebody told me the Carolina Panthers will go 0-17 this year, I would probably believe it, which is why you got to bench Bryce Young. If you start Bryce Young, everybody knows the Carolina Panthers are going to lose a game every single week, whereas if you play Andy Dalton, okay, you might have a chance to win 4 or 5 games. I don't think Andy Dalton is necessarily a good quarterback either, but at least Andy Dalton brings respectability to the franchise. You start Bryce Young, you are essentially telling the fan base we are tanking for the #1 overall pick in 2025. But you know what? Maybe that's what the Panthers need to do. Maybe they need to tank in 2024 so they can go ahead and take Quinn Ewers with the first overall pick in 2025 and maybe rebuild from there. Either way, though, you're not going to win with Bryce Young as your quarterback, and the more you start Bryce Young, the more likely you're just going to keep losing games all the time. It's really not that surprising that Bryce Young has continued to play this badly. You look at all the advanced stats, it's pretty clear Bryce Young does not belong in the National Football League whatsoever. If you don't want to use advanced stats, you can go ahead and use the eye test and use traditional stats. It's not good whatsoever. There is nothing that suggests Bryce Young will ever become a good quarterback at the NFL level, at least for the Panthers. It's not good either way, though. So that is why the Panthers will clearly be the worst team in the NFL again, particularly if they start Bryce Young at the quarterback position on a weekly basis. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking. Like the video and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DustinNashTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinNashTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinNashTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more of Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.